The council chamber was huge and filled with aliens from every corner of the galaxy. Daniel Carter stood at the human table with his arms crossed. Next to him, Lisa Morgan was reading through the peace terms on her datapad. Her face was getting red with anger. Admiral Greg Harrison sat quietly in his chair, but his eyes were cold and hard. The alien mediator was called Juthik. He was tall with transparent wings that caught the light. He showed the peace terms on a big screen for everyone to see. The terms were bad for humans. Really bad. They wanted humanity to give up 4 colony worlds. They wanted humans to destroy half of their space fleet. They even wanted humans to pay money to the Krelthi for starting a war that the Krelthi had begun in the first place. 3 years ago, the Krelthi had attacked New Terra without any warning. They killed civilians and destroyed entire cities. Now the Galactic Union wanted humans to pay them for it. Daniel felt sick to his stomach. "These terms are not acceptable," Daniel said in a quiet voice. The whole chamber went silent. Every alien turned to look at him. Jothik's wings moved in a way that showed he was annoyed. "Ambassador Carter, the Council has worked on these terms for many weeks. This is a fair deal that will bring peace to everyone." "Fair?" Lisa stood up fast. Her chair scraped on the floor. "The Krelthi attacked us first. They killed our people. They bombed our homes. Now you want us to reward them for it?" A Krelthi general named Vactor stood up from his seat. His scales changed colors in a way that meant he was feeling proud and superior. "Humans forget their place. You are new to space travel. You have only been among the stars for 3 generations. The old races make the rules here. You must follow them." Admiral Harrison had been quiet the whole time. Now he spoke in a voice that was calm but dangerous. "We are done here." Those 4 words changed everything. Jothik's wings went stiff. "Admiral, surely you do not mean to leave?" "I mean exactly that." Harrison stood up and started gathering the human datapads. "We came here wanting peace. We wanted justice. Instead, you showed us that the Galactic Union does not care about right and wrong. You only care about keeping the powerful races happy, even if that means punishing victims and rewarding attackers." Daniel put his hand on the Admiral's shoulder for a moment. Then he turned to face all the aliens in the chamber. "Humanity has tried to follow your rules. We have been polite. We have respected your customs. We have done everything you asked. But now we see the truth. You do not see us as equals. You see us as tools to be used or thrown away." Another alien spoke up. This one looked like it was made of crystal. "You would walk away from peace talks? The Union could punish you for this. We could stop all trade with human worlds. We could close the shipping lanes. We might even send our military forces against you." Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You could try." The 3 humans walked toward the big doors at the end of the chamber. Behind them, the room exploded with noise. Aliens were shouting in dozens of different languages. The translation computers could barely keep up. Jothik was trying to get everyone to be quiet, but nobody was listening. When the doors closed behind them, Daniel pulled out his communication device. "Mr. President, it is done. We are coming home." President John Mitchell's voice came through clear and steady. "Understood, Ambassador. Time to show them what humans are really made of. Start Protocol Sovereign." The 3 humans walked down the long hallway away from the council chamber. Their footsteps echoed on the metal floor. None of them looked back. Lisa was the first to speak. "Do you think they will really attack us?" "Yes," Harrison said simply. "The Krelthi will come at us hard. They think we are weak. They think walking away means we are scared." "Are we ready?" Daniel asked. The Admiral's face showed the hint of a smile. "We have been ready for months. Every ship in the fleet knows what to do. Every colony is prepared. The Krelthi are about to learn something important about humanity." "What is that?" Lisa asked. "That we do not start fights, but we always finish them." Back in the council chamber, the aliens were still arguing. Some wanted to punish humanity immediately. Others thought the humans were bluffing and would come back begging for mercy. A few, mostly the smaller and weaker species, were quietly thinking that maybe the humans had a point. Jothik finally got everyone quiet. "We must decide how to respond to this insult. The humans cannot be allowed to simply walk away." Vactor stepped forward. "Let me take my fleet to human space. I will crush their colonies and bring them back in chains. Then they will accept any terms we give them." But Counselor Shiara, an old alien with many legs and a thoughtful mind, made a clicking sound. "Be careful, General." The humans did not look scared when they left. They looked confident, like they knew something we do not. "They know nothing," Vactor said with contempt. They are children playing at being warriors. I will teach them their place. The council voted to allow Vactor to take his fleet to human territory. They would show humanity what happened to species that defied the Galactic Union. It would be a quick lesson. The humans would surrender within days. At least that is what they all believed. On Earth, President Mitchell stood in the underground war room. Around him were his top military leaders and advisors. Holographic screens showed the position of every human ship and base. The Krelty are moving 3 battle groups toward our border, said Helen Brooks, the Secretary of Defense. They think we will panic. Let them think that, Mitchell said. How long until they reach the Arcturus system? 3 days, sir. Good. That gives us time to finish the preparations. Admiral Harrison, is Operation Thunderhead ready? Harrison nodded. Every piece is in place, Mr. President. The Krelty are walking into the biggest trap in human history. They will never see it coming. Mitchell looked at the star map showing all of human space. So many colonies. So many people depending on the decisions made in this room. We did not want this war. We tried to make peace. But if they force our hand, we will show them what happens when you back humans into a corner. Katie Sullivan, the intelligence director, spoke up. Sir, we are picking up communications from other alien species. Several of them are watching closely to see what happens next. If we win, some of them might join our side. And if we lose? Someone asked. Mitchell's jaw was set firm. We will not lose. Humans have been fighting since we lived in caves. We have fought each other, nature, and everything else that tried to stop us. We did not come this far to be pushed around by aliens who think might makes right. He turned to face everyone in the room. Send the order. All fleets are weapons-free. If the Krelty want a fight, we will give them one they will remember for 1,000 years. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours, every species knew that humanity had walked out of the peace talks. On the core worlds of the Galactic Union, everyone was shocked. How could such a young species dare to defy the most powerful organization in the galaxy? Jothik called an emergency meeting. The council dome was packed with aliens from every major species. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone was angry or confused or both. This has never happened before, said Ambassador Krell. He was from the Sothian species and his tentacles were moving in agitated patterns. No race has ever rejected Union terms. The humans must be taught a lesson. But Shiara, the old counselor with many legs, made her clicking sound again. Perhaps we have made a mistake. The human diplomats did not seem frightened. They seemed ready for this, like they had a plan. A plan born from stupidity, Vactor laughed. Let them stand alone. Without the Union's protection, they will fail. Without access to our trade routes, their economy will crash. Their colonies will run out of food and supplies. In a few months, they will come crawling back. And when they do, the price will be much higher. The council agreed. They would wait and watch humanity collapse under the weight of isolation. It seemed like a perfect plan. But across human space, something very different was happening. President Mitchell stood in his war room surrounded by screens and tactical displays. His military chiefs were all present. So were his closest advisors. Helen Brooks read from her datapad. All human fleets have received protocol sovereign orders. The Krelty are sending ships toward our borders. They expect us to surrender when they arrive. Let them come, Admiral Harrison said. He had arrived back on Earth on a fast ship. They are about to learn something they will never forget. Katie Sullivan, who ran human intelligence operations, pointed at several spots on the star map. Our spies tell us the Union members are already fighting among themselves. The Velkrin want economic sanctions. The Krelty want to attack us with their military. But some of the smaller species are asking questions. They are wondering if the Union went too far. Mitchell nodded slowly. How many species in the Union have been forced to accept bad deals over the years? How many sat in that council chamber listening to the powerful tell them what to do, and wished they could say no? You are thinking bigger than just survival, Lisa Morgan said. She had also returned from the station. I always have been, Commander. Mitchell turned to face his team. Humanity did not come to space to bow down to anyone. We came to build something new. If the Union will not treat us as equals, then we will show them and everyone else that there is another way. General Frank Hudson brought up military displays on the screens. Our factories have been working day and night for the past year. We have 60 new warships that will be ready in 3 months. Our shipyards are building ships faster than we ever thought possible. The Union does not know this, Katie added. They think we are weak from the war. They are working with old information about our military strength. Mitchell's face was hard. Then let us teach them the truth. Admiral, you have permission to begin Operation Thunderhead. If the Krelthi want a war, we will give them one they will never forget. Back on the Union Station, Jothik received new intelligence reports. What he read made him feel cold inside. Human colonies were not evacuating. Human ships were not retreating. Instead, human fleets were moving forward into contested zones. They were moving with purpose and coordination that showed careful planning. They knew, he whispered to himself. They knew they would walk away from the talks. This was all planned. Shiara had reached the same conclusion. We have made a terrible mistake. We thought the humans were weak and desperate. We thought they needed our help. Instead, they have been learning from us, watching us, planning. And now they are showing us what they can really do. Jothik finished. What have we started? In the Krelthi Command Center, General Vaktor was preparing his fleet. He had 42 large warships and twice that many support vessels. His orders were simple. Capture the human mining colonies in the asteroid belt. Hold the miners hostage. Force humanity back to the negotiating table with their tails between their legs. He looked at the tactical map and smiled. This would be easy. The humans were no match for Krelthi military power. In a few days this would all be over and the humans would learn their place in the galactic order. Vaktor had no idea what was waiting for him. In the Arcturus system, Captain Ryan Murphy commanded the human carrier called Defiant. His ship was hiding behind the largest moon, completely dark and silent. Next to him on the bridge, Lieutenant Amy Foster watched the sensor screens carefully. Krelthi fleet will arrive in 5 minutes, Amy said in a calm voice. They are coming in exactly where we predicted they would. Ryan smiled. It was not a nice smile. Send the signal to all ships. It is time to spring our trap. All across the Arcturus system, human ships that had been running silent suddenly turned on their engines. The Krelthi thought they would find a few desperate defenders. Instead, they found 78 human warships all positioned perfectly to attack from multiple angles. But the real surprise was in the asteroid belt. What looked like simple mining stations suddenly came to life. They were not mining stations at all. They were weapons platforms. Hundreds of them. The entire asteroid belt had been turned into one massive defensive system, and the Krelthi were flying right into the middle of it. Vaktor's smile disappeared when his sensors started showing all the human ships. How is this possible? Our intelligence said there would be minimal defenses. His sensor officer checked the data again and again. General, these weapons are not standard human technology. The power readings are much higher than they should be. They must have developed something new. The weapons platforms fired first. Missiles by the hundreds streaked toward the Krelthi ships. Then the human fleet opened fire at the same time. The Krelthi shields held but barely. Vaktor had expected to fight outdated human weapons. These were something completely different. Captain Nicole Grant commanded the destroyer Relentless. She watched with satisfaction as her ship's new plasma cannons burned through a Krelthi cruiser's shields like paper. That is for New Terra, she said quietly. The battle went on for 6 hours. The Krelthi had more ships and their individual ships were stronger, but the humans had better positions, better coordination, and 3 years of hard-won experience. More than that, the humans were fighting for their homes and families. Every human in that battle had lost someone to the Krelthi. Admiral Harrison watched from the Sovereign at the edge of the system with reserve forces. Lisa Morgan stood next to him watching the tactical display. The Krelthi are trying to retreat, Lisa reported. They are attempting to regroup. Do not let them. Harrison's voice was cold. Press forward. I want Vaktor's flagship disabled but not destroyed. We are sending a message, not committing murder. The human fighters were faster and more agile than Krelthi fighters. They swarmed around the massive Krelthi dreadnought. The point defense guns tried to shoot them down, but there were too many moving too fast. Wave after wave of precise strikes hit the dreadnought's engines until the huge ship was drifting helplessly in space. Vaktor watched his fleet fall apart around him. 18 of his capital ships were destroyed or crippled. The rest were running away. His own flagship was dead in space, unable to move. A communication request appeared. It was from the humans. He almost ignored it, but curiosity made him accept. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on the screen. General Vaktor, your fleet is beaten. Surrender now and your crews will be treated well. Keep fighting and we will destroy every ship in the system. You cannot hold this system, Vaktor said, but his voice was weak. The Union will send more fleets. You are alone against the entire galaxy. Are we? Harrison smiled slightly. You should check your intelligence reports, General. We are not the only ones unhappy with the Union. Vaktor's eyes went wide as someone sent him breaking news. 3 smaller species had just left the Galactic Union. They said humanity's courage had inspired them. Trade ships were changing course to human ports. And most shocking of all, the Sothian Collective had declared neutrality and was talking secretly with Earth. The defeat at Arcturus sent shockwaves through the entire Galactic Union. On the Council Station, emergency meetings went on for 3 days straight. The carefully built appearance of unity was falling apart. Councillor Shiara stood before the assembly. Her voice was angry but controlled. For 300 years, the Union promised safety and prosperity to all members. But when the Krelthi attacked human colonies, the Council did nothing. When proof of war crimes was shown, the Council buried it. When humanity asked for justice, the Council sided with the attackers. Why would they stay? You defend them? General Krathek jumped to his feet. He was the replacement for Vaktor, who was now a prisoner. The humans are barely civilized. They are violent and dangerous. They must be controlled. Controlled? Ambassador Krell's tentacles moved in sharp patterns. Perhaps you should explain how these barely civilized humans just destroyed your 3rd fleet while losing a 3rd as many ships. Jatik tried to restore order, but it was clear the Council was splitting apart. Even his own species, the Velkron, was divided. Merchant guilds were reporting that trading with humans was very profitable. Several powerful guild leaders were questioning whether cutting off trade with Earth was wise. On Mars, President Mitchell met with representatives from 6 species that had either left the Union or were thinking about it. The meeting was secret, but the fact it was happening at all was a huge change in galactic politics. Daniel Carter made the introductions. Mr. President, this is Ambassador Trilix of the Mentaran Republic, Councillor Vesh of the Yorlan Confederation, and representatives from 4 other systems. Mitchell greeted each one properly, using the correct cultural greetings. This was Helen Brooks's idea. She insisted humanity show they could be diplomatic when treated with respect. Thank you all for coming, Mitchell began. I know this meeting is dangerous for many of you. The Union does not like what it sees as betrayal. Trilix was a being, made of crystal that reflected light in beautiful patterns. The Union has not cared about our needs in centuries, President Mitchell. The major powers make all the decisions. The rest of us either obey or face economic punishment. Your species showed us it is possible to stand up to them. We do not want to destroy the Union, Mitchell explained. We want to show that power should be balanced, that it should not flow in only one direction. Councillor Vesh had copper-colored fur and intelligent eyes. What you are proposing is an alternative, a group of independent systems that cooperate without anyone being in charge of everyone else. Exactly. Helen Brooks activated a display showing trade routes, defense agreements, and technology sharing. We are calling it the Free Systems Alliance. No species is above another. Decisions are made by everyone agreeing, not by the powerful forcing their will. And membership is voluntary. Leave whenever you want with no punishment. It sounds idealistic, Trilix observed thoughtfully. The Union was founded on similar principles once. Time and power corrupted that vision. Then we will build protections against that, Mitchell replied. Leaders can only serve for limited terms. Military action requires almost everyone to agree. Economic policies are transparent, and the founding charter can only be changed if everyone agrees. Admiral Harrison joined the meeting through a secure video link from his ship. We are also proposing mutual defense. Not a permanent army, but a promise that an attack on one is an attack on all. The Krelthi targeted humanity because we were isolated. That cannot happen to any of us again. The discussion went on for hours. They talked about economics, military cooperation, cultural exchange, and many other topics. By the end, 4 of the 6 species had joined the alliance. The other 2 wanted to talk to their governments first, but seemed very interested. After the representatives left, Katie Sullivan pulled Mitchell aside. Sir, our sources say the hardliners in the Union are pushing for a complete embargo and military blockade of human space. They see the alliance as a threat to their existence. Let them try, Mitchell said calmly. Every aggressive move they make just proves our point. The Union is run by bullies who do not know what to do when someone stands up to them. There is something else. Katie looked serious. We have detected unusual fleet movements near the Velkrun core worlds. Not directed at us, but it looks like some Union members are positioning forces to protect themselves. The Council's authority is breaking down faster than we expected. Mitchell looked out at Earth visible through the facility windows. We broke something, did we not? The old order is dying. Yes, sir. The question is, what replaces it? Something better, Mitchell said firmly. Something that remembers what it is like to be weak and afraid. We just have to survive long enough to build it. In the council chamber, the arguments continued. Some wanted to crush humanity immediately with overwhelming force. Others said that would only make more species leave the Union. The moderates, growing larger every day, suggested completely restructuring how the Union was governed. We cannot let this stand, one counselor shouted. If the humans succeed, every minor species will think they can defy us. Perhaps they should be able to, Shi'ara responded. When did we stop being a union and become an empire? The question hung in the air. No one had a good answer. On the human colony of New Terra, the place where the war had started 3 years ago, people gathered to watch President Mitchell's speech. They had lost so much in the Krelthi attack, but standing together now they felt something they had not felt in years. Hope. Mitchell's face appeared on screens across human space and on allied worlds. 3 months ago, we walked away from a table where we were not heard. Today we are at a different table where we have a voice. Not because we demanded it, but because we earned it. This is not the end of our journey in space. It is a new beginning. In orbit above New Terra, warships of the new alliance flew in formation. Human ships alongside Mantaran vessels and Yorlan cruisers. It was a small fleet, but it represented something new. Something the galaxy had not seen in a very long time. Equality. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the Sovereign watching the fleet. Think the peace will hold? Captain Ryan Murphy asked. Harrison thought about it. The hardliners will not give up. The Krelthi want revenge. And there are species that think we are too dangerous. But we have faced worse. And if someone tests us again, they will find we learn from every battle. So more trouble is coming? Always, Harrison smiled slightly. But that is humanity. We do not quit. On distant Union worlds, aliens watched the news with mixed feelings. Some were angry at human defiance, others were inspired by it. And a few, the ones who had been quietly unhappy with Union policies for decades, began to wonder if change was possible. The old order was cracking. What would replace it was still unclear, but one thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had refused to bow. They had stood up, fought back, and won. Not just a military victory, but something more important. They had shown that the established order could be challenged. That might does not always make right. That even the youngest and weakest could become strong if they refused to give up. It was a lesson the galaxy needed, and humanity had taught it the hard way. 6 weeks after the Battle of Arcturus, the Free Systems Alliance held its first official summit. The location was Luna Station, orbiting Earth's moon. Delegates from 12 species gathered in what used to be a simple trading post, but had been expanded into a proper diplomatic facility. Daniel Carter walked through the station's main corridor with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the president's daughter and an expert on alien cultures. She had been brought on to the diplomatic team specifically for this summit. Nervous? Sarah asked. Terrified, Daniel admitted. We are trying to build something that has never existed before. A coalition where no one is in charge, where power is truly shared. The Union was supposed to be that once, Sarah said. We need to figure out what went wrong and make sure we do not repeat their mistakes. They entered the main conference room. It was circular with no head table. Every delegation had an equal position. This had been Sarah's idea and Mitchell had loved it immediately. Ambassador Trilix was already there, his crystalline form reflecting the station lights. Next to him sat Counselor Vesh and her Yorlan delegation. Representatives from 10 other species filled the remaining seats. "Welcome, everyone," Daniel began. "We are here to turn an idea into reality. The Free Systems Alliance is more than just a military pact. It is a promise that we will treat each other as equals, that decisions will be made together, that no one species will dominate the others." "Pretty words," said Ambassador Krell, who had officially resigned from the Galactic Union to join the Alliance. "But how do we make it work?" "The Union started with similar ideals and look what it became." Sarah stepped forward. "I have studied the Union's history extensively. The corruption started when the founding species gave themselves permanent seats on the Council. They told themselves it was necessary for stability. But it created two classes of members, the rulers and the ruled. So we have no permanent seats," Trillick said. "All positions rotate. No species can hold power indefinitely." "Exactly," Daniel confirmed. "And we are proposing something else. Any major decision requires approval from at least 75% of member species. Not 75% of votes weighted by population or military strength. 75% of species. One species, one vote. This caused some murmuring. The larger species were not sure about this. The smaller ones looked hopeful. Vesh spoke carefully. "That means a species with 1 billion citizens has the same vote as a species with 1 million citizens?" "Yes," Sarah said firmly. "Because this alliance is not about who has the most people or the biggest guns. It is about cooperation and mutual respect. If we let size determine influence, we will just recreate the Union's problems." "The Union will hate this," someone said. "The Union already hates us," Krell pointed out. "That ship has sailed." The discussions went on for 3 days. They debated trade policies, defense commitments, cultural exchanges, and technology sharing. There were disagreements and arguments. But unlike the Union Council, no one could force a decision. Everything had to be negotiated until everyone agreed. It was slow. It was frustrating. But it was fair. On the 3rd day, they signed the Alliance Charter. 12 species committed to a new way of doing things in the galaxy. It was a small beginning, but it was a beginning. While the summit was happening, Admiral Harrison was dealing with a different problem. The Krelthi were not done. Intelligence reports showed they were gathering another fleet, bigger than the one lost at Arcturus. Harrison met with his fleet commanders via secure communication. Captain Ryan Murphy was there along with Captain Nicole Grant, Commander Lisa Morgan, and a dozen other officers. "The Krelthi are coming back," Harrison said bluntly. "This time they are bringing overwhelming force. They cannot afford to lose again. It would destroy what is left of their reputation." "How many ships?" Nicole asked. "Over 100 capital ships plus support vessels. They are emptying their reserves for this." "Can we win?" Ryan asked. Harrison was quiet for a moment. "In a straight fight?" "No, they have too many ships, but we are not going to fight them straight." He brought up a tactical map. "The Krelthi think like predators. They believe in overwhelming force and direct assault, so we are going to give them what they want, or at least make them think we are." Lisa smiled. "Another trap?" "The biggest one yet," Harrison confirmed. "But we are going to need help, which is why it is good timing that we just formed an alliance." Back on Luna Station, Daniel was approached by Admiral Harrison's representative with a request. The alliance had been active for less than a day and they were already being asked to act. Daniel brought the request to the other ambassadors. "The Krelthi are gathering a massive fleet to attack humanity again. Admiral Harrison is asking if any alliance members would be willing to provide support." The room went quiet. This was the first real test of what the alliance meant. Trillick spoke first. "The Mantaran Republic has 12 warships that could be ready in 3 weeks." Vesh nodded. "The Yorlan Confederation can provide 8 ships in logistical support. One by one, other species offered what they could. Not everyone could provide warships. Some offered medical ships. Others offered supplies or intelligence. But everyone offered something. When it was done, the Alliance would be able to field a combined fleet of nearly 80 ships from multiple species. Still outnumbered by the Krelthi, but no longer alone, Daniel felt emotion rising in his chest. "Thank you, all of you. You are risking your people for us." "No," Krell corrected gently. "We are risking ourselves for all of us. That is what an alliance means. An attack on one is an attack on all." The humans did not just say those words. You made us believe them. News of the Alliance fleet reached the Galactic Union and caused immediate crisis. Shathik called another emergency session. The council chamber was in chaos. This is exactly what we feared, one counselor shouted. The humans are building a rival power block. They are dividing the galaxy. We divided it ourselves, Shiara responded sharply, by treating smaller species as lesser members. By allowing the strong to bully the weak, the humans did not create this problem. They just exposed it. What do we do? Someone asked. Jothik looked tired, very tired. We have two choices. We can support the Krelthi attack and hope they crush the Alliance. Or we can finally admit that the Union needs to change. Change how? By becoming what we were supposed to be from the beginning. A true union of equals. The debate raged for hours. In the end, the Council made a decision that shocked everyone. They would not support the Krelthi attack. Instead, they would offer to mediate, to create real peace talks, with real compromises from both sides. It was the first time in living memory that the Union had refused to back one of its major members in a conflict. The first crack in the old power structure. When the Krelthi learned of this, they were furious. General Krathik sent an angry message to the Council. You abandon us? After everything? Then we will handle the humans alone, and when we are done, we will remember who stood with us and who did not. But without Union backing, several Krelthi allies reconsidered. The fleet that was going to be over 100 ships shrank to 80, then 70, then 60. Admiral Harrison received the intelligence updates with satisfaction. They are losing confidence. Good, let them doubt. Doubt makes you cautious. Caution makes you slow. The combined Alliance fleet is gathering at Rally Point Gamma, Lisa reported. Ships from 7 different species all working together. It is actually beautiful. Harrison allowed himself a small smile. Then let us show the galaxy what cooperation can do. Ready Operation Hammer and Anvil. When the Krelthi come, they will face something they have never seen before. What is that, sir? Unity? The Krelthi fleet arrived at the Meridian system expecting an easy victory. General Krathik commanded from his flagship, confident that 60 warships would be more than enough to crush whatever resistance the humans could muster. What he found instead changed everything. The combined Alliance fleet waited for them. Not hiding, not cowering. They were in formation, broadcasting their positions openly. Human ships in the center, Mantaran crystalline cruisers on the left flank, Yorlan vessels on the right, ships from 5 other species filling the gaps. Krathik stared at his display in disbelief. Impossible. The intelligence said the humans were isolated. Where did all these ships come from? His sensor officer was equally shocked. General, we are reading multiple species signatures. The humans have allies now. It does not matter, Krathik snarled, though his confidence was shaken. We still outnumber them. All ships attack formation. We will sweep them aside. The battle began with both fleets exchanging long-range fire. The Krelthi had more ships, but the Alliance fleet moved with perfect coordination. Human tactical doctrine combined with Mantaran shield technology and Yorlan. Electronic warfare created something greater than the sum of its parts. Captain Ryan Murphy commanded. A mixed squadron of human and Mantaran ships. Stay tight, he called over the comm. Use their shields to cover our approach. Use our weapons to hit hard when we get close. The tactic worked brilliantly. The Mantaran shields absorbed damage while the human ships unleashed devastating close-range attacks. Krelthi ships that had seemed unstoppable suddenly found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. On the other flank, Captain Nicole Grant worked with Yorlan commanders to jam Krelthi communications. Cut them off from each other, she ordered. Make them fight as individuals, not as a fleet. Admiral Harrison watched from the Sovereign, coordinating the entire battle. Next to him, Commander Lisa Morgan managed communications between 7 different species, each with different languages and customs. The Krelthi right flank is collapsing, Lisa reported. Mantaran forces are pushing through. Tell them to maintain pressure but do not overextend, Harrison ordered. This is not about destroying them. It is about proving a point. The battle raged for 4 hours. The Krelthi fought hard, but they were facing something they had never encountered before. Multiple species working together seamlessly, sharing tactics, covering each other's weaknesses. Fighting as one. Finally, Krathik realized he was beaten. He had started with 60 ships. Now he had 38 still combat capable. The Alliance fleet had lost ships too, but they were still fighting strong. A communication request came through. It was Admiral Harrison. General Krathik, you have fought well, but the battle is over. Surrender and your people will be treated with honor. Krathik wanted to refuse, to fight to the last ship. But he looked at his losses and knew continuing would be suicide. What are your terms? No terms. Just peace. Real peace. Not the kind where one side dominates the other. The kind where everyone walks away alive to build a better future. Krathek was silent for a long moment. Then he gave the order to stand down. News of the Battle of Meridian spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light. The impossible had happened. A coalition of smaller species had defeated a major power, not through overwhelming force but through cooperation. On the Galactic Union Station, the Council met for what everyone knew would be a historic session. The chamber was packed. 17 species that had left the Union were watching. 23 neutral species were watching. Even member species were watching with new eyes. Jathik called the session to order. We are here to address a petition from the Free Systems Alliance. They request recognition as a sovereign entity and the establishment of formal diplomatic relations. The chamber erupted in argument as expected, but this time something was different. The voices calling for compromise and reform were louder than the voices calling for war. Daniel Carter stood at the human delegation table with Lisa Morgan and Sarah Mitchell. They waited patiently for the arguing to die down. The council will hear from Ambassador Carter, Jathik announced. Daniel's voice was clear and steady. 4 months ago, we walked out of this chamber because we could not accept unjust terms. Since then, humanity and our allies have proven we can defend ourselves, build lasting alliances, and thrive without Union oversight. But we are not here to gloat, he paused. We are here because we remember why the Union was founded. To prevent the devastating wars that nearly destroyed the galaxy 1,000 years ago. That is still a worthy goal. But the Union has forgotten its purpose. It became about maintaining power, not ensuring justice. Counselor Shiara stood. She had become an unexpected voice for reform. Ambassador Carter speaks truth. The Union was meant to be a forum for cooperation, not a tool of control. We forgot this to our shame. The humans are naive, General Krathek said from the observer section. His defeat had humbled him but not broken him entirely. They speak of equality, but the galaxy has always been ruled by the strong. Maybe that is the problem, Sarah Mitchell spoke up. Every species in this chamber started as underdogs. You all faced extinction or oppression at some point. You overcame it through determination and alliances. Now you have become what you once feared. You have become the oppressors. The words hit hard. Across the chamber, representatives from older species began to shift uncomfortably. They remembered their own histories, their own struggles. Ambassador Krell stood. His species had left the Union to join the Alliance, but he still had influence. The humans offer us a choice. Cling to outdated power structures and watch the Union die or evolve. I choose evolution. The debate went on for hours. Slowly, painfully, a new framework emerged. The Union would remain, but its governance would be fundamentally reformed. No permanent seats. No veto powers for major species. Military action would require overwhelming agreement. Economic sanctions would be reviewed independently. And most importantly, members could leave freely. The Free Systems Alliance would be recognized as separate but equal. A joint council would mediate disputes. Trade and cultural exchange would be encouraged. When the final vote came, the reforms passed by a narrow margin. The Union would survive, but it would be forever changed. That evening, Daniel shared a meal with Shiara and several other representatives who had supported reform. They met in a small restaurant on the station's public level. You gambled everything, Shiara observed. What would you have done if the Union had rejected the petition and attacked? Daniel smiled wearily. We would have fought and won, but I'm glad we did not have to. Your species is remarkable, Shiara said. Most races reach the stars slowly, carefully. You went from primitive rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than a century. You throw yourselves at challenges that would make others retreat. Tell me, is humanity always this intense? Lisa laughed. You have no idea. Back on Earth, President Mitchell addressed the world from Washington. The speech was broadcast to all human colonies and allied worlds simultaneously. 4 months ago, we walked away from a table where we were not heard. Today we have returned to a table where we have a voice. Not because we demanded it, but because we earned it. This is not the end of our journey. It is a new beginning. We showed that courage and unity can change the galaxy. Now we must prove we can build something worthy of the sacrifices made to get here. On New Terra, survivors gathered in the rebuilt Central Plaza to watch. They had lost so much in the war. But standing together now, they felt hope for the first time in years. Admiral Harrison watched from the Sovereign, now patrolling the border between Union and Alliance space. Ryan Murphy stood beside him. "Think the peace will hold, sir?" Harrison considered the question. "The hardliners have not given up. The Krelthi still want revenge. There are species that think we are too dangerous. But we have faced worse. And if someone tests us again, they will find we learned from every battle." "So more trouble ahead?" "Always," Harrison smiled. "But that is humanity. We do not quit." Across the galaxy, in Union space, Alliance space, and the neutral zones between, a new era was beginning. The old certainties were gone. Power would no longer flow from military might or ancient tradition alone. It would have to be earned through respect and cooperation. Humanity had walked out of peace talks and shocked the galaxy. But in doing so, they forced a change that was long overdue. The galaxy would never be the same. On a small colony ship heading toward unexplored space, human pioneers looked at the stars with hope. The universe was vast and often hostile, but humanity had learned something important. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to accept someone else's definition of your place in the galaxy. The galaxy's leaders had been shocked once. They would learn to accept it, or they would be shocked again. Humanity had made its choice. There was no turning back.